Chapter 1. Faith Logistics. Story of the Good Doctor. The year was 2013, and the month was August. I was about to find out for sure whether I was crazy or not for following what I felt was divine inspiration from dreams, visions, and a still small voice. The day was August 3rd. I was driving back to school for a new semester as a junior in college. I had no means of paying for my college tuition. The sum was $8,900, and all I had in my bank account was about $700 from helping around with dirty jobs. Even if I had to use this, it would suffice for books and personal needs. But to put the fuss about my tuition into perspective, let me give you the context. I came to the United States of America primarily because this still small voice, the voice of the divine, suggested taking the trip. Recall the deal the frog made? This was part of the adventure. It will be an adventure, said he years earlier. Yes, people come to America to find greener pastures, but that was not me. In my home country, I was doing well. I had just passed several accounting exams, was a certified accounting technician affiliate, and a skilled level chartered accountant, and was ready to take professional courses and then intern to obtain a professional international accounting license. This was college for me, and I had already spent 3 years on the program. It was a big deal. I had been offered the opportunity to teach young professional accounting students. For a 19-year-old, I was doing extremely well in a country stigmatized with unemployment and discrimination. Plus, my mother had just bought a car and turned it over to me. She was a successful entrepreneur and investor, a woman revered among her peers. I was naturally beginning to follow in her entrepreneurial footsteps. But just when I was 5 courses from finishing my professional training, that's when the experiment took a new turn, and the following was my marching order. Prepare to leave the country for your new country. I have an assignment for you. Leaving everything to take an exciting trip that would change my life felt like eating a rat sandwich. Ironically, Mrs. Mom thought it would be a great way to grow. Unknown to her was that this travel abroad project had divine fingerprints all over it. She decided to sponsor the trip. I applied for colleges abroad and was accepted. I did make it to my university in Arkansas. To my surprise, it was impossible for me to transfer credits from my professional training, and I had to start college like a freshman. In essence, I lost 3 years of hard work. Hello, America. This was my first "Dear Frog, you just got dropped in boiling water" experience. What a painful surprise. On top of that, my mother could only pay for my first year of college, and she had already done that. The rest was up to me. Now, this brings us to August 3rd, 2013, on my way to school with no clear way out. Now, you may be thinking about student loans. Unfortunately, that does not apply to international students. As an international student, I was not allowed to work. I was also expected to take a full course load. If I failed to cover tuition expenses for a single semester, I would eventually be restricted from eating at the school cafeteria. Worse, all my classes would be dropped, and I would be shipped back to Africa with no certificate of completion or $1 to my name. If this happened, it would mean shame and disgrace for my mother and me. I would have wasted time, resources, and 2 years of my life on a whim, a delusional, divinely inspired adventure. As I pondered these things in the absence of an AC in the car on a hot summer day, his soft whispers left me a note in my spirit, which read, "Don't worry about it. Just go to school and trust me." That's how I found myself on the road to school, unsure of myself, my needs, and my tuition. How I survived my sophomore year is another story, but it all came together in this story. As I drove the van that carried my stuff, I occasionally forgot about those who were in the car with me. I was daydreaming, wondering, and shivering on the inside. After settling down in my room that first night, I had a dream, and in this dream, I heard a voice say, "If you work hard, I will reward you." Then in another dream, I heard a voice say, "Trust me and excel in your studies." But I questioned, "Yes, you will reward me, but how about my tuition? Where is it coming from?" There was no answer. Time passed, and I asked for divine intervention. Nothing happened. If I could have done something about my situation, I would have done it. But what could I do? My hands were tied. Then I began receiving notices for payment due as classes began. Then there were late fees. Gradually, $8,900 began to increase by $50 a week. It would take nothing short of a miracle. But where could I go to find one? During night hours, I would fast and pray harder for divine intervention. One night I prayed, asking if I should call uncles and other people for help, but he said, "Don't call either of them. They will not help you." Gee, thank you, Heavenly Father. Well, I called them. No one helped. In fact, most of them felt insulted. Then I asked in prayer, "Have you changed your mind about the timing of this tuition issue? Should I go to financial aid? What am I supposed to do? I am terrified." To which the reply was, "No, it's all taken care of." Then my mother called weeks later, encouraging me to just believe and see what happens when we trust in God, even in impossible-looking situations. Easy for her to say. Obviously, she did not understand my predicament. However, her voice reminded me of the deal I had made with the author of life and possibilities. At least, I believed so. I carried on life with belief in the promise it was all taken care of. I remained patient. At least, I had handled the pressure before. Regularly, I would fret and in doubt question myself. What was I thinking, hanging on the words of a voice with no face? Stuff for a nut, I thought. Then September came, and with it, more notices. In my tax class, I would tear up and pray silently. "God, I need directions. Help me." In one such class, I discerned the soft whisper say, "Give $50 to this and another $50 to that, and then pay $500 as part of your contribution to your tuition and as a sign of faith." I thought it was the craziest request ever. Why make it any more painful? $500 would not make a difference. And why would I be giving $100 to someone who needed it? What about me? I needed it. My room was void of any snacks. It would have been nice to have some money for ramen noodles. But we had a deal, so I did. If this was going to be a successful adventure, it would be wise to keep following these unconventional directions. After all, my life was screwed as far as I was concerned. After complying, I proudly submitted my results in prayer. This time, I heard the soft whisper say, "Okay, your tuition is all taken care of." So I prayed again, asking if he was sure of what he said. I said, "Listen, God, I know you keep saying it's all taken care of, but what should I do and where should I get the money from?" The next day, I decided to make a more persuasive argument. I printed out the receipt for the tuition due, brought it back to my room, lifted it up, and offered the following prayer. "So maybe math is not your strong point, God, because you keep telling me it's all taken care of, but this here, my receipt, shows that I now owe $6,014.35 after my contribution, 2 small scholarships, and late fees. Clearly, I still owe money. So where is the money coming from?" The response was the same. "It's all taken care of." What did that mean anyway? Still, I had a drop of hope. I could hold on a little longer. Often, doubts resurfaced. What was I doing with my life? And what was I doing, thinking the voice and dreams meant something. But since it was too late to turn back, and there was no way out of the tuition dilemma, the best thing to do was to see it through. So I held on a bit longer. Then October came, and I was under fire. Pay or be dropped from class and shipped back to Africa. Oh, the horror. My resources were diminished, and there was no place for me to go or run to if immigration officers came to deport me. The walls seemed to be closing in around me, so I decided to take out my frustration on the one who didn't seem concerned. It didn't look like he was doing his part, so I prayed, lashing out. God, you brought me to this country for an adventure, and you said you would take care of me. You said to excel and trust you. You said in your word that I was a lender and not a borrower, and now I owe money. How can you say that? Are you going to pay this money or not? If you didn't bring me to this country for your purpose, tell me right now and make it clear, and I will start doing things my way or go home. Look, Father, it's either you keep your promises or you don't. It's either you are God or not. It's either I believe you or not. But clearly I am here, am I not? If you do not take care of my tuition, know that I have the right to, and I will call you a liar. You keep your word. Oh, if His Majesty was not slow to anger, only the not-so-kosher mouse in my room would have lived to tell the tale of Ishmael turning into a pillar of salt. That night, I had a dream, and in it, I heard a terrifying voice say, "Didn't I say tribute was coming? Didn't I say it was all taken care of? God is good and will not fail you." The terrifying voice didn't help. Not long after that, around mid-October, I was refused entry into the cafeteria because my account was past overdue. I could no longer eat, and students with account balances due, such as myself, had to prepare for the worst. Following this incident, I found a quiet room to cry in. As I sat opposite the vending machine, I asked for help one last time. And while I prayed, a comforting but oblivious whisper said, "What are you doing here?" Shocked, I waved my new receipt with additional fees and replied, "I am here praying for you to take care of this money that I owe." The voice replied, "Haven't I told you to go talk to Mr. Scott and go see the good doctor?" I remember the dream I had a week earlier in which I was asked to go see Mr. Scott, the director of student accounts. So I asked the oblivious question, "When I go to see him, what should I tell him?" The voice replied, "Tell him your father says it's all taken care of." Trying to comprehend the weirdness of the answer, I asked, "When you say Father, who do you mean?" The answer confirmed my fears. If he, Mr. Scott, asks who your father is, tell him the God of Elisha. To me, in the absence of my father, I have always seen the Almighty as a father. But this did not make any sense. So I asked expressively, "Let me get this straight. You want me to go to Mr. Scott's office and tell him my father said my tuition was all taken care of, and if he asks who my father is, I should tell him the God of Elisha?" "Yes," the voice answered. "Do you know how dumb that sounds?" I complained. To which I discerned the reply, "Yes, and that's why I am sending you." What choice did I have? I could say no, but if I wanted to find out if this was for real, and if I wanted to stay in school, I had to follow through. It was the final step, the narrow path. So I left that room with the game table that sheltered my teary attitude and set out for the business office, heading into the office of the director of student accounts. "Mr. Scott," I said, "about my tuition. My father says it's all taken care of, so you can allow me to eat now." He replied, "Oh, really? So should I be expecting the money this week or so?" I just said, "Well, yeah, next week should be fine." Then Mr. Scott looked up as if to request the name of my father. All I could come up with was, my dad's name is, it's all taken care of. After trying unsuccessfully to change the conversation, I ran out of the office. Panting out of anxiety and thinking I blew it, I looked down in disappointment. But I was immediately arrested by what seemed like my guide enjoying a moment of laughter as he watched with joy. Then I heard him say, "Wasn't that fun?" I was frustrated by this. I replied, "It's easy for you to say. I'm the one down here doing this, not you." Then I was told, "Go and see the good doctor and talk to him." Conversation with the good doctor. Then I rode my broken bike with a flat tire to go find the good doctor as directed. It was embarrassing riding past fine damsels I wished were in distress and could understand my pain, my fears, and my lack of self-esteem. After waiting on him for some time, I was led into the office of the good doctor. Our conversation went like this. Me: "Sir, I know you helped me last time, and I am thankful. But now, I need help with tuition, and this is the situation. I came to ask if you could help me with this problem. A few dollars can go a long way. Hope you don't mind me coming to ask." The good doctor laughed and chuckled. "So how much is it?" Me: About $6,014 with late fees. Here's the receipt." He took the receipt, looked at it, and wrote a number down. Then he returned it and said, "It's all taken care of." Shocked, I silently blurted out, "What?" The good doctor replied. I said, "It's all taken care of." I said, "That's it? That's all? You didn't ask me any questions? That's it?" The good doctor: "Yes, that's it." Me: "Sir, I will shine your shoes, mow your lawn, clean your dishes. Need any help around the house? Call Ish. I am right here. I mean, I don't get it. It surprises me how you just wrote something down and you are taking care of it. Why?" The good doctor was laughing at my reaction. Then I began to leave his office in shock, and he spoke up. "When do you graduate? You will need money for next semester, right? How much is it?" Me, stunned, I said, "Well, it's like $8,900, and scholarships cover, say, about $1,500. The good doctor replied, "Okay, I'll get a couple of guys and we'll take care of that too." I was amazed, and I was now laughing and smiling. The good doctor said, "You know what? Your job is to get the grades, and I will take care of the tuition. By the way, is there anything else you need? Food, groceries?" Taken by surprise, I replied, No, I'm fine." "Good. Let me know if there's anything else you need. We've got you covered." I was astonished as I said, "Okay, thank you." "We've got you covered? We've got you covered." Who was we? Besides, that sounded too familiar. Where did I hear that from? I walked out of the office stunned. This was real life TV. I planned on skipping class for the rest of the day to relax and think through what had just happened. I was not sure if I had been hallucinating. As I mused on being the beneficiary of a miracle, a friendly voice interrupted my thoughts and said, "So, how did it go?" Lord, I am so sorry for all the arguments we had, the disrespect, complaining. I didn't mean to do that. Plus, it's not that I didn't believe you. I was just concerned and felt I should ask questions. Like I said, it's all taken care of. I gave you a cow. You milk the cow. I put the good doctor in your life for a reason. I told you years ago, before you took on this adventure, that I have touched certain people and a certain man for you on this adventure. He is here to take care of you this way, to get you ready for the reason you are here. I have put your blessings in people, and it is up to you to go get them. It is already out there. If you would only step out of your room and go get what has already been given to you. The kingdom of God suffers violence. It is the violence of faith that take it by force. It is up to you to go get your blessing. Like I said, it's all taken care of. It was up to you to take this lonely road. Believe, have faith, and go get it. Hence, I have given you the cow. It's up to you to milk it. Milking the cow was a metaphor I understood well. Feeling happy, I said apologetically, Thank you so much. You know, Father in heaven, I feel stupid now because of the way I spoke to you. I am so sorry. I was rude and arrogant. And with whispers, he replied, It's okay. You are blessed and you are my son. Go back to school. Your class is about to start. Apparently, someone knew I was about to skip class. I received about $10,800 from the good doctor the following semester, which covered my tuition and left extra cash for my needs, and received more the following semester. He paid my way through college. The good doctor came to my school and paid the tuition all at once the first time in cash. He eventually became one of the main donors to the establishment. He was also instrumental in contributing in part to my sophomore tuition, but I didn't really notice. It's ironic because he was a department head in another college. By December 2014, when I graduated, guess who showed up, taking lots of pictures and screaming my name? If not for some people, where would some of us be? But before graduation day, I went to visit some friends and the good doctor joined us. He told my friends and me his side of the story. Years earlier, wondering what to do with some extra cash he had received from a very lucrative investment, he had prayed for wisdom to invest it. Like never before, he had received a clear and strange answer. The good doctor said he had felt like God had spoken and told him that a student with a specific amount would come to him, and when this young fellow came, he would know exactly what to do. Weeks later, there I was in his office with an invoice in my hand with very specific figures. Seeing me, he said he knew exactly what he was supposed to do. Faith logistics. From the above adventure, this is what I came up with. To pioneer and develop your dreams, visions, ideas, and enterprise, you need faith. To travel a road you have never traveled before, you need faith. But faith begins with risks. At some point, your faith needs legs to walk. Faith begins with risk. Risk is the willingness to be foolish. That is, willingness to look foolish for what and for the sake of who you believe in. Faith is the action behind your willingness to be or to look foolish for what and for the sake of who you believe in. Faith with the lowercase f means simply this. However, faith with the capital F is also expressed this way, but has its roots in God, God's way, and the ability of the divine to engineer circumstances in our favor for his name's sake. Faith is risk in action, but with an anchor on the belief that this faith will be rewarded with divine providence. It was foolish to think that in the midst of the obscurity, somewhere in the future, probability could be turned into possibility. It was foolish to believe that this voice and those dreams meant something useful. I had to be willing to be foolish enough to believe that divine providence existed, if only I followed his unconventional guidance to the end. Taking risks is one of the major cornerstones of success in fulfilling our life's purpose. The basis of risk is simply the enthusiasm of trial and the willingness to accept and take responsibility for error in pursuit of a worthwhile cause. For instance, when an entrepreneur starts his business, he has no real proof that he will make money. Circumstances could change, a disaster could strike, a competitor could enter the market and create a better product. The entrepreneur does not know if he will make enough money for it. It is precisely his faith that builds the platform for high risk, high reward. If the platform for faith is destroyed, the capacity of any generation to pioneer and innovate dwindles as a whole. Faith is needed to develop and fulfill our dreams and turn our ideas into enterprises. You need faith to take major risks for what you believe. In most of these cases, it will be foolishness, except for your conviction, which sustains your zeal. In the holy text, the writer of the book of Hebrews writes, "Through faith, they fought whole countries and won. They did what was right and received what God had promised. They shut the mouths of lions, put out fierce fires, escaped being killed by the sword. They were weak but became strong. They were mighty in battle and defeated the armies of foreigners. Through faith, women received their dead relatives raised back to life. Others, refusing to accept freedom, died under torture in order to be raised to a better life. Some were mocked and whipped, and others were put in chains and taken off to prison. They were stolen." Faith simplistics. The simplicity of faith. From my own experience and observations, I find that when one holds onto life tightly, the possibility, potential, and extent to which dreams and visions can be developed are greatly limited. It's as if our lives were meant to be given away for the law of fulfillment to work. That is, giving ourselves time, energy, resources, even at the risk of death, especially for your God-given mission on planet Earth. His purposes also involve academia, business, politics, entertainment, and more. Each presents its own challenge, but God is there to help each according to His grace and their purpose in life. Faith is not hard. The actions are usually quite simple. Rather, it is the risk to our lives, our reaction, and our attitude in the midst of uncertainty that makes faith seem so difficult. Of course, count the cost. Add our perception of what people will say, what will happen, and how we feel, and we have obstacles that we have to battle with. But the action of faith itself is quite simple. Faith is simply a phone call away, sending an email away, a question, discussion, talk, conversation away from making a new contact, getting connected, meeting a future spouse, convincing a partner to join you in the business, engaging a benefactor, persuading an investor, and so on. Faith is simply a walk, trip, knock, or visit away from discovering something, someone, a new perspective, culture that ends up inspiring you. Faith is simply a report, a letter, article away from reaching someone, inspiring another, bringing in support, and transforming a life. That's it. In the words of Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, faith is precisely the courage to take a risk, in spite of the uncertainty, the doubt, the fears, and pressures. It's your willingness to believe that though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you will not fear, you will not fail. As the good book says, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. I believe we can only enjoy a meaningful life and a rewarding future to the extent to which we are willing to give our lives away in service to God's other children in whatever capacity we have the ability to serve and meet the need or solve the problem. That's not to say you can't be happy without doing any of this. You can. But to reach Maslow's self-actualization stage, where you do what you were put on earth to do and become all that you are capable of becoming, you will need to take risks and have faith. It is faith that pleases our Heavenly Father, who Himself has great faith in us, His children. He waits for us to explore the world and redeem it with our dreams, visions, ideas, and enterprises using our gifts, skills, and talents. In the New Testament of the Bible, Jesus said, "If you yourself can, everything is possible for the person who has faith." Each action of faith you take inspires the divine orchestration of your benefactor's footsteps. Each step of faith causes God to send invitations to people along the way who will be inspired to meet, become interested, and connect with you. They will certainly take an interest in your need, dream, vision, idea, or enterprise, but you need to step out of your room into the unknown so that you can be seen. In a soccer game, the referee doesn't pay attention to the player sitting on the bench. But once the player enters the game, the referee becomes aware of that player's presence and position. He begins to shadow the player's moves as he does the others. Only by stepping into the game of living and taking risks do you get noticed. In the comfort of the bench, God sees you but men who need you don't. But when you are out there in your field of dreams, defending or transforming lives, you are seen. And when you do it to sanctify the name, God really sees you. That is, extra attention is warranted to ensure your safety, the fulfillment of your divinely inspired work, and your daily bread. It does not mean it won't be hard. On the contrary, that's part of what makes the adventure such a tasty experience. After all, you fell in love with your favorite movie because the main character overcame hardships. Think about it. In your God experiment, you are the main actor, and God is the producer and director. He has a plan, but it's not set in stone. Only you get to write on the stone by going with the plan. Taking risks and having faith doesn't mean you won't fail. You will. However, failure is the currency with which you purchase understanding from the establishment of experience. Having the courage to venture out into the unknown is what attracts divine providence. We did not start the work, but we are invited to be a part of adding the finishing touches to the master plan. This vision of faith spans millennia, and it will not end with us. If you don't do anything that requires faith, there is no need for God to show up and show up. But if this is what you would like to see, you must create space for the supernatural coincidences to exist in. This is done by taking on the adventure of risk and the journey of faith to fulfill a divine task with God's help to repair the world by being the salt and light that brings life, healing, and redemption to Earth's inhabitants. Faith and risk begin with a word, a message from heaven that inspires you to take a risk. Hence, to encourage an open heart to the possibility of hearing God's voice, ponder the following thought. Do not despise inspired messages. Put all things to the test. Keep what is good and avoid every kind of evil.